One thing I've seen some people do is they'll like have conversations in Latin or perhaps Old English. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that in particular. I have tried to have conversations with people in Gothic, which is the language I'm most interested in. It's the language that this channel is mainly about. Um, One thing I'm really interested in, and I've thought a lot about, is the idea of language revival. Um, so the most famous example of a language being revived is like Hebrew. So Hebrew is what you might call like a successful revival of a language, like what people might think of when they think of reviving a dead language. Um, You have some languages. There is a distinction to be made. We have like languages like Welsh, Cornish, Irish, maybe even Old Prussian. I'm not really sure. Um, but the thing about these languages is that there's like modern communities that can actually consider that their ancestral language. Um, I guess you could divide it into three types when it comes to endangered and like extinct languages. Let's say we have languages like uh, Old English, Latin, and Ancient Greek. These would be languages which have descendants. So we have Modern English, uh, we have the entire Romance languages, uh, French, like French, Italian, Spanish, Romanian, Portuguese. There's a lot of them, um, but I don't need to list them all. Ancient Greek, we have, of course, have modern Greek. So these languages have modern descendants, and if you, so these languages never really went extinct per se. Um, they more so just evolved into some other language. You can't really say that about Old Prussian, Hittite, or Palabian. These languages are they just all of the native speakers died out and they didn't pass the language on to their kids, is what happened. Um, other examples of the top, we would have like Old High German, uh, Old Saxon, Old Norse. So these are all Germanic languages. These ones, I mean, just like Old English. Gothic is also a Germanic language, but there's no modern day Gothic that's like descended from it. So you just have High German, Low German, and the Scandinavian languages like Norwegian, Swedish, um, Icelandic, uh, Danish, Faroese, Italian. Yeah, there's a lot of North Germanic languages. There's also like old. I could also list like Old Dutch, Old Frisian. So theoretically, something you could do if you got enough people motivated would be you could revive one of these ancient languages or medieval languages would probably be a better term for these ones, and you could get a group of people speaking them in the modern day, teaching that to their kids, and we understand enough about these languages that they would be like mostly accurate to how they were spoken in the day. But there's not really that much interest in doing any of this. Um, I think there's slightly more interest in these. These are languages which have Hittite is not an example of what I was about to say. So I'll move Hittite over here. Hittite doesn't have any descendants, so far as I'm aware. But and in addition to having no descendants, I don't think there's any language related to Hittite. But for Old Prussian, it's related to Balto-Slavic, so like Proto-Balto-Slavic, and thus is related to languages such as Polish, Lithuanian, Russian, um, Bulgarian, Czech, Slovak, Latvian. There's a whole lot of these languages. Uh, Gothic is, of course, related to all of these languages and all of these languages, and of course, English. Um, Palabian is another Slavic language. Oh, I should. So it's related to like Polish and Czech and Slovak most closely, but it is also related to the other Proto-Balto-Slavic languages. I think if we take Proto-Balto-Slavic, and this is a bit of a detour, but we can divide it up into three main subgroups. We have Slavic, uh, East Baltic, and the West Baltic. So these are the three main subgroups of Proto-Balto-Slavic. So there are modern day languages related to Old Prussian through this, so the Slavic, and also, of course, it's related to, if I put this up here, Indo-European. So if you want to learn Old Prussian as an English speaker, you're actually learning a language that's distantly related to your own, um, because then you get Gothic and Old Norse and all that. Um, I just made a video about how they're related to each other. Um, and of course, Latin, Sanskrit, whatever, ancient Greek, all also Proto-Indo-European. Um, Hittite is an example of a language with no descendants, no relatives. I don't think. Oh, wait a second. Yes, it actually does belong to this category technically because it's also Proto-Indo-European. But I guess so it is distantly related to English. I should say. So but it's basically doesn't have any close relatives. Is what I meant to say. So like Gothic is closely related to English and old High German and Low German and the Scandinavian languages. But Hittite, you know, it, it does. There aren't any like. Well, there's the Anatolian branch, but I'm pretty sure that died out. I don't think there are any descendants of Anatolian. Um, there's also like other ones like Luwian. So you could revive. Well, I don't want to say this because I don't know anything about Luwian, but hypothetically, we might know enough about the language that you could revive it. Um, Basically every language, except the only exception would be like conlangs. But every language has some older form of the language that, if it's well tested enough, you could revive. So Japanese, just like old Japanese. Let's say I'm pretty sure this exists. Um, for Welsh, Cornish, and Irish, I don't, I don't know. I think Welsh is living, so and Irish is living, but I think Cornish actually went extinct and now it's being brought back. I can't remember. But the thing about these languages is they actually have living communities who claim descent, um, even if they don't speak the language. So let's say we have Wales here. Um, I'm not going to do a very good job of drawing Wales, but let's say you have some people who speak Welsh and the rest they speak English. So these people Um, we could call them like uh, English only Welsh, and the rest uh, over in this area. I don't know the exact distribution. Maybe it's but let's say we have the Welsh and English speakers, and they're over in this like area, somewhat shaded green, or maybe they're more even like whatever. But these English only Welsh speakers, they still consider themselves Welsh, even if they don't actually speak Welsh. And if you're trying to revive Welsh, well, that's great. I mean, you have this group of people who could be motivated to learn Welsh. Maybe you're not going to get them to learn Welsh, but you could. Um, but let's say you want to revive Gothic. Okay. So here we have, like, I don't know, the planet Earth or whatever. Um, I'll try to do somewhat of a good job. Um, but I'm not going to succeed. Let's say you have like America over here, um, and you have like Europe. Uh, how would that look? I don't know. Basically, no one, no one in this, no one here has any sort of connection to Gothic. Um, n like no one. Uh, it's Africa. I'll make Africa and Britain red, like the rest of it not. But the black represents people who have really no association with Gothic whatsoever. Um, you know, you could sort of claim that, oh, maybe here's some Spaniards who claim descent from some Gothic king 1,000 years ago, more than 1,000 years ago, I should say. Um, but their family tree stretches back to some Gothic nobility. Um, to what extent that can actually be verified, I don't know. But there are like some people who can claim descent from Goths. But really, what you would see is that let's say there's a Goth and they marry a Spaniard, and that Goth marries a Spaniard, that Goth marries a Spaniard. They're basically that have the same percentage of goth in them as everyone else. Not that like I think there's any like, oh, this person is racially gothic or any nonsense like that. But I think like in terms of okay, what language did your parents speak? They spoke Spanish. Their parents spoke Spanish. Their parents spoke Spanish. You don't really have the same thing with Welsh, where maybe your grandfather spoke Welsh or something. It's a very distant connection, is what I'm trying to say. And there's no like any sort of like Gothic culture. There's a Gothic subculture, but uh, that's not really related to the Goths in any way. Um, so can you revive Gothic? Hypothetically, you could. Um, and if you want to revive Gothic, I will say that there is like some online communities who are speaking Gothic, having some limited conversations in Gothic. Um, I've actually had like conversations with people in Gothic, um, and I think that's pretty neat. It's a very small community. Um, it's very difficult to find people who are interested in speaking Gothic. Um, and I think in this part of the video, I'll talk about just let's say you want to tell someone that what's a good example? That let's say you want to play some video game. You might say "How sweet you," and then how do you say play? Well, it's not attested. There's no attested word for video game. Let's say you want to play Counter Strike. So you say count, Counter Strike. Wilizu, Hells Wilizu, Counter Strike, uh, Myth, Nis, uh, Ga- Gamanon. So you might say something like this, and how good Gothic this is, I can't say. Um, Ilizu, Myth, Nis. Uh, how would you say that? I'm not sure. Ilizu, uh, un, Unkis? I think it's Unkis. Ilizu, Unkis, Myth, Nis, Unkis, Ka- Contra, Streak, Ilizu. I don't know. I don't know how to say. How do you want to play Counter Strike with me? And that's like a problem if you want to revive a language, because if you're constantly, it's not even just having to look up words in the dictionary, because half the time, the word you want doesn't even exist, and you just have to come up with the word. But the thing is, okay, I think it's possible, and I'll tell you why. Let's say every day you talk to your friend and you want to say, "Oh, do you want to play Counter Strike with me?" Let's say I don't know why. I've never actually played Counter Strike. But let's say you and your friend play Counter Strike all the time, and there's like specific vocabulary, like, "Oh, we have to quick get capture the point." If you know, if coin a word for to capture a point, like let's say you want to say, oh, point, you'll say punctus. So punctu, hin, might say like hin punctu. And once you learn how to say hin punctu or whatever, um, then you can always use that and the person will understand. I would say that speaking a language with someone like Gothic on like a day-to-day thing is sort of like, you have this really broken machine. Um, it's all rusty. I'm trying to draw a gear here if you can't tell. Um, but you have this like really rusty machine. I'm just going to copy and paste the gear. Um, and it's all rusty and there's brown all over it. Brown rust. And it does not turn. You can try to push it as much as you want, but it's just going to break or whatever. But once you get that machine going, once you get it like really spinning, then it's like then it just goes really fast, and it gets faster and faster as it gets going. But to actually start it up is the main problem, I think, and it's just sort of a thing where you just have to speak the language day after day with that person, and eventually you'll get to a level where it's going fast, but it's such a gradual progress, uh, where for most of the time it's just going really slowly. Or at the beginning, I mean, at the beginning it just goes so slowly that it's hard to have motivation to get it out of this like broken state where you kind of just have to, work through each sentence like, oh, Wilizu, um, Counter Strike, where you don't really know what to say and you keep having to check a dictionary. But I think it's possible, and if you do it enough, it'll not only be possible, but actually be almost effortless, I would say. Um, and like as effortless as like speaking your native language. Um, if you're interested in reviving Gothic, I would say let me know down in the comments section. There are a few Gothic servers on Discord um, that you can join if you want. Our Gothic server that I'm on, uh, that I'm like I think a moderator on. Or I don't know the difference between a moderator and an admin, if I'm being honest. But I'm one of those two things, and um, I'm on the Wootmoth Discord server. Gothic script that would be Wootmoth. Um, so you can join that. There's also another one. I think it's called Gothic Language Discord or something like this. I can't remember. I always just call it the purple server. But oh well. I hope some people, whoever watches this, get some sort of something about something out of it at least. I think I'll put a link down in the description uh, for joining the Wutmatha Discord server. It's not very active at the moment, but I hope maybe if you join the server and like speak there, I'm thinking of maybe doing like readings of the Bible, but I don't know. I could do something else if someone is interested in that. Bye.